I'm Frank, and I'm all about helping business owners and entrepreneurs start and grow their lawn care business. Make sure to subscribe, like, and hit the bell button so you're notified of my future videos. What's going on, lawn care pros? So today I have a special guest with me, Mark Perdue. He's an intellectual property attorney, and we're going to talk about trademarks and intellectual property and kind of dive into that a little bit. Hey, Mark, how are you doing today?
I'm fine, Frank. How are you?
I'm doing great. You're in Dallas, Texas. Did you weather the storm per se that we had some really bad weather last week?
Yes, as far as I can tell, I haven't had to run my sprinkler yet, but I drained it. So, but
good.
You never know whether it's really drained or not. And I suppose it was cold enough to freeze it hard, but I'm not 100% sure.
Well, I tell you what, you're going to find out soon, right? We're approaching like 75 degrees weather.
Yeah.
We went from like 20s or 17 degrees at one point just last week, and here it is 75 degrees. But it's crazy weather here in Texas. But going back to the intellectual property, first of all, tell me just a little bit about yourself, Mark.
Okay. I've been doing this for 30 years, exclusively intellectual property, which is kind of a fancy name for patent, trademark, and copyright law. I do about 50-50 patents and copyright trademarks, and just a little bit of copyright, because that tends to be sort of a music business or entertainment area, and the entertainment lawyers in LA and New York, I guess, have that kind of locked up. But do a lot of trademarks for people. And I not only get them, but I sue people on them and defend people who've been sued on them, and write dirty letters and or write responses to dirty letters. So kind of the whole ball of wax.
And like I said, you're located in Dallas, Texas, right?
That's correct.
Awesome. From a legal advice, we're doing this podcast, YouTube. You're not here to actually give legal advice. So if you want to kind of give us the disclaimers, right? The fine print.
The caveat,
right.
the fine print. Yes, I am giving, there's no way to say it's not legal advice. I'm trying to explain how the law works. But I don't have an attorney-client relationship with any of your listeners, and a particular listener or client's needs, vary wildly with their circumstances and the particular facts in their situation. So don't try to apply this to your specific situation. I'm not advising your specific situation, and what I say in these sort of general statements may wind up being exactly wrong for your particular situation. So, please, if you have a legal situation, get in touch with a local lawyer or the lawyer of your choice and take your advice from them, please.
Absolutely. So in simple words, don't try this at home, right?
Yeah, pretty much. So
let's dive in.
Okay.
Trademark. What exactly is a trademark?
Well, it is a brand, is another name for it. It's what you call yourself and how you become known to your customers and potential customers. It's really that simple. You can think of famous trademarks like Coke, Coca-Cola, Pepsi. Showing my age here, Kodak used to be a really strong trademark, and now I don't even know. Xerox used to be one too. Microsoft, Apple, or it's your identity as a business or as a service provider.
Great. So if I started a lawn care business, let's say, and I called it ABC Lawn Care, is that my trademark?
It sure is.
Okay.
If that's how you put yourself out to people.
Great.
And at this point, we should probably make a distinction between what some people call a trade name, which doesn't really have any legal meaning. That could be a trademark. Maybe it's something else. Um, and corporate names. And when I say corporate, I'm including all kinds of legal entities like limited liability companies, LLCs, LLPs, limited liability partnerships, and even if you're not formally organized as a corporation, an assumed name, or what people commonly call a DBA for doing business as. You can register a name for a corporation, and the state that you're registering that name with they won't let two corporations have exactly the same name. Um, but that's not a trademark test. They just don't want two corporations with exactly the same name. So as long as there's, you add 123 or ABC or slash dot or some characters to your name, you can register that. That may or may not be your trademark, because a lot of entities have one name and use an entirely different name for a trademark. And one example of that is the company that makes Pepsi Cola is PepsiCo.
Oh,
That's a
okay.
little different.
Interesting.
But then you have the Coca-Cola company, which makes Coca-Cola. So they're pretty much the same thing. And a really vivid example is you yourself. Frank is my client, and we have applied for a trademark. And Frank's company corporation name is B&G Professional Services Inc., but his trademark is Lawn Care Frank.
Okay.
That's how he presents. No, probably nobody in the world, except very few people, know about B&G Professional Services, but everybody listening to this knows about Lawn Care Frank.
Okay. That's a great explanation. Just, like I said, let's say I'm just starting a lawn care company and I decided to call it ABC Lawn Care, and I go down to the local office, right? And in a particular county, right? So,
Yes.
going down from a state level to city to a county, right? So I'm in this county and I register my business DBA, right? Doing business
Yes.
as. So does that protect me when it comes to trademarks, right? So I'm ABC Lawn Care, and here I am, I'm doing business as ABC Lawn Care. And, I go about my business, year one passes, year two passes, I'm 5 years into it. And then, lo and behold, I see that somebody is trying to get a trademark for ABC Lawn Care, my business, something that I'm proud of. I've been doing business, as ABC Lawn Care for the last 5 years. And, here's somebody that's doing a trademark. What happens then?
Well, most, at least, well, I can speak directly to the state of Texas. I also have looked at this in some other states. Most states specifically provide in the laws, the statutes that provide for registering corporate names or DBAs, that it is not a trademark. It is of no trademark significance whatsoever. So the answer is you have not created a trademark by registering your corporate name or a DBA. However, the good news is that simply by using the name to the public in your business for the last 5 years, like you just said, you have acquired a trademark. You didn't acquire it by registering the name, but you did acquire it by using it, because using a trademark is everything.
Okay. So going back to that example, ABC Lawn Care, we're doing business for the last 5 years, let's say, and somebody comes in and applies for a trademark for ABC Lawn Care with the, wherever they apply, right? The trademark office, the patent office, wherever they're applying, right?
Yes.
And let's say they get granted for whatever reason, right? They get granted
Yep.
ABC Lawn Care, the trademark. Am I kind of, screwed?
A little bit, not really.
Okay.
If you're really on your P's and Q's and you know that this is happening, you can hire a lawyer. You should hire a lawyer for this. And the lawyer can monitor their application. And there comes a point in every trademark application, at least every federal one, that the trademark is what we call published for opposition. And it's published for 30 days, and that means they publish it in this thing called the Trademark Gazette that I think is entirely online now. And when that time comes, your lawyer can file what's called an opposition and say, hey, they should not get this trademark because we have been using it for the last 5 years. And as long as you predate their use, you'll probably win. Now, probably the more realistic scenario is you don't discover that ABC Lawn Care registered their trademark until they write you a dirty letter that says, hey, we have a trademark registration.
Yeah, absolutely.
You're using ABC. But then at that point, you can defend the dirty letter, respond to it by pointing out that you have been using it for the last 5 years. Of course, you're going to have to come up with some kind of proof of that, which when you first think about, oh, that's easy. But then when you start thinking about, okay, what kind of documents do I have or, tangible proof that I've been using it for the last 5 years? Well, hopefully you have invoices and various things of that nature, maybe canceled checks written to ABC Lawn Care going back 5 years. And, you can prove that. Um, so it's a pain. It's no fun. Um, but you're not completely out of luck. You may be out of luck if they started using before you did, though.
Okay, that's interesting, and you're absolutely right. There's a good likelihood that you're not going to be sitting in front of your computer or monitoring this on a day-to-day basis because you have a business to run, right? So
Yep.
there's a very good likelihood, like you said, that that trademark's going to get approved and you're going to end up getting this nasty letter. Then now you're this the mercy of the courts, right? Now you're having to battle something that you really could have prevented from happening from the get-go.
Yes. And one of the ways, or the easiest way to prevent that from happening, is to register your trademark. Because if you're registered, then somebody that applies to register after you for the same or a similar mark will not receive their registration. You don't really have to do anything. So we call that sort of the defensive aspect of a trademark registration.
Absolutely. So yeah. So what's the quote? An ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure, right? Or
Exactly.
something along those lines. So it's better off, being able to sleep good at night, not having to worry about, protecting or defending your brand, right? Like,
Right.
if you're ABC Lawn Care, you take pride in that. Maybe it's been a family business for 5-10 years, and somebody just comes along and tries to pull the rug from under you, right? And
Yep.
send you a nasty letter saying, hey, you really can't be using that name. And you might be like, oh my God, I
Yeah,
gotta.
that's really offensive, and I've had a lot of clients that they, whether their trademark incorporates their name, their family name, or has been a family business for a long time, or not. Um, People get an emotional sort of attachment to their names, and they get the prospect of being told to change their name or ordered or requested by some stranger to change their name really bothers them, and that's understandable. And that underscores how important trademarks can be. I mean, they're, at least the owner is emotionally attached to it, and probably their customers too, to some extent. They certainly use it to, is a what a trademark is supposed to be is a shorthand for consumers to buy the products they want to buy and not the wrong products. And, we don't allow people to use the same trademarks for similar goods because people will be confused. They'll buy the wrong thing from the wrong person. They want to give their business to Frank or Mark. And if somebody's using a similar name, they'll give it to somebody else and they may find out about that and be extremely irritated. So, the whole purpose of trademarks, from a legal standpoint, the reason we have them is to prevent consumer confusion, if that makes any sense.
It makes perfect sense, and that's a great way to explain it. And not just from the emotional standpoint. If you've been in business and you've been doing business for this with that same name for 5, 10 years, maybe even 20 years, you've really invested in that brand.
Yeah.
You've really marketed that brand.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe you have thousands of customers, and all of a sudden you have to change it to BCD instead of ABC. It's like that's a really hard thing to swallow.
Yep, it is. And, on the large scale, you can think of the sort of famous trademarks like Coca-Cola or Apple or Microsoft or even Google, who's, I guess, now Alphabet, maybe one of their divisions is Google.
Yeah.
But it's hard to put a monetary value on a brand, but I don't think any of us would question whether one of those huge brands is worth millions, possibly billions of dollars to their owner. And, on the smaller, more regional scale, all of our marks and the way we identify ourselves are very important to us and worth something, if not millions of billions of dollars.
Yeah, I can tell you, even from a somebody that's just starting out their business, or has been in business for a while, it's definitely worth, that brand is definitely worth more than what you pay for to get a trademark. Like, people have a perception that, oh my God, it's going to be so expensive, or I have to get a lawyer involved. And it's not in our realm of comfort, right? We're lawn care professionals. We're, any other kind of business. We're professionals in what we do. And when it comes to, the word lawyer or something that we're not familiar with, it's like, oh my God, it's going to be thousands and thousands of dollars, when in reality it's very affordable. And we'll kind of get into that. But before we do, let's just go back and ask the simple question. I decided, hey, I'm going to get a trademark. It's valuable to me. I get it. I really get it. This is something that I need to protect. I need to protect my investment in my business, right?
Yep.
So the obvious question is, how do I get a trademark?
Okay. Well, I've already kind of touched on that, and that is you simply use it. You start putting it on your website, your business cards, your invoices, whatever advertising you do. If you, hang flyers on people's doorknobs or community bulletin boards, it's that name. And simply by using it, it becomes your trademark. And that brings us to possibly even a more fundamental issue. A lot of people think of trademarks as logos, graphics, pictures. Well, that's not the way the trademark law looks at trademarks. To the trademark law, a trademark is mostly words. Now, you'll see some trademarks. One that comes to mind that I've used as an example often is the little Ralph Lauren polo symbol. Mm-hmm. It's kind of rare that I guess, business psychologists or the people who concern themselves with this kind of thing. The trademark law is centuries old. It dates back to England and people being granted the right to be blacksmiths or silversmiths or whatever, and they applied their names and a little stamp to their products. But it turns out that the law was sort of psychologically right because people tend to remember words and phrases and associate them with things much more strongly than they do logos. So when you're thinking of a trademark, don't think so much of a logo,
Okay.
or even, using a fancy font, or, your words maybe have a little clump of grass after them, or a tree, or something that kind of maybe indicates, lawns and landscaping.
Hmm.
But it's really the words. If a trademark is a combination of words and a graphic element, when the law compares, say, your trademark to somebody who's accusing you of trademark infringement or vice versa, they're going to look at the words mostly and ignore the logos. So when you, speaking to the great royal you out there, think of a trademark, think of it as the words, like in Frank's case, Lawn Care Frank. He could use it with any and all kinds of logos, but the real trademark is Lawn Care Frank. That's the first thing. And then that kind of leads you into, well, okay, so I need to focus on words. How do I choose a trademark? Um, and that's going to be a very personal thing. But uh, I would advise you to try and pick something distinctive, something that sticks out somehow. You can do the triple A or quadruple A or 5A lawn care to try and get yourself at the top of the yellow pages. I doubt that anybody does that anymore, because when's
Right.
the last time any of us cracked the yellow pages?
Right.
But, a great example of this uh, is Lawn Care Frank. I mean, you're not precisely a lawn care business, but you're in the business. And you could have picked Frank's Lawn Care,
Sure.
but Lawn Care Frank is a little bit more distinctive. It has a little different impression than Frank's Lawn Care. So anything you can do like that to make it sort of unique or cutesy. I don't know what the exact word. Well, the legal word would be distinctive, and
Okay.
that may be the best word to use for it. But anything you can do to make it sort of stick out, stand out from the crowd, stand out from the ABC lawn cares and the AAA lawn cares and the A1s and the Acmes and things like that. So, and once you picked one or narrowed it down to two or three, I would advise you to Google it
Hmm.
or DuckDuckGo it. Use a search engine, and just put the phrase in and search it and see if anything comes up where somebody anywhere near you or anywhere in the United States or maybe even anywhere in the world is using the same or a similar mark to provide lawn care and landscaping services. And if they are, then in order to avoid a situation later down the line, you might want to consider something else that gets no hits.
And once you've Googled that, and we all can do that, right? So that's pretty simple. And once you Google that and you've really, this is assuming that you're not pursuing getting a professional to help you. And maybe
That's right.
and this is just maybe your baby step to figure out, okay, I think this is going to work. Now, now I need to register this, right?
Right. And what I just described is pretty good advice no matter what you're doing.
Hmm.
But even if you're going to hire a lawyer sooner rather than later to help with this, lawyers, we aren't marketing people or branding people. Maybe some of us acquire some rough expertise at it, but a lawyer is probably not the person you want to ask, what should my trademark be? You want to come to them with a proposed trademark or with two or three, and the lawyer can give you some advice on which ones are going to be better trademarks from a legal standpoint, which might be the absolute worst trademark from a business standpoint. But either way, when you're trying to pick one, focus on the words and try Google searching and seeing if anybody else anywhere is using it. That's not the final answer, but it's a good start. If your name doesn't raise any hits to speak of, that's a really good sign. if it, comes back with 1,500 hits that all say Lawn Care Frank or something, then you might want to change, might want to start looking at another name or call a lawyer and find out if any of those are really a problem.
Okay. And so once you've decided on the name, or you've narrowed it down to 2, 3 different names, and at that point, you might pursue, getting the trademark yourself, registering the trademark yourself, or use a lawyer. Is that the time where, we're at the point where we're going to go and register that trademark?
Very possibly. Some trademarks, this is getting kind of technical, but I'll go ahead and touch on it. Probably everyone has heard to some extent about generic trademarks, because occasionally, particularly in the past, you used to see advertisements from, like, Xerox, I know, did it. They used to occasionally put ads in magazines and newspapers and whatnot, asking people not to use the word Xerox when they mean making a copy or a photocopy of a document.
Interesting.
Because a generic, when you try to use something that is the dictionary definition of what you're doing, that's generic. This goes back a long way, but at one time, thermos was a trademark for what we call thermos bottles now. But it became basically the dictionary definition of, I think the term is a vacuum bottle. But, now everybody calls it a thermos, if people still even use thermoses. But, you don't want to, best lawn care. It's probably not generic, but it's pretty close, because it just tries to describe your business. I'm in lawn care and I'm the best. That's not a great trademark. It's not very distinctive.
It could be like Joseph's, or maybe a county or a city, like like Dallas Best Lawn Care. Is that better?
Yeah, you can add a couple. It's a little better.
Not quite there yet, but it's
not quite there. But the more descriptive and sort of generic, Dallas Best Lawn Care is not very good. Dallas Lawn Care is not very good. Dallas Best Lawn Care may be a little better.
Dallas doggone Best Lawn Care. How about that?
That's getting getting kind of distinctive, right? Yeah.
With a little cowboy hat on there. Well, again, the logo and stuff doesn't matter.
Yeah, so logo doesn't count for much, but it doesn't count legally.
Okay.
There's
good for the chuckle.
Lots of good marketing reasons, perhaps, to use a logo with your word mark. But
yeah. Well, that's a great point, and we're going to continue our conversation with Mark next time. I hope this information was helpful. Make sure to subscribe, like, and hit the bell button so you're notified of my future videos. See you next time, Lawn Care Pros.